No one is certain exactly when in ancient times gladiatorial combat began. Some early historians say it might have begun as early as 300 BC. But up until about 105 BC in Rome, gladiatorial battles were staged mainly to show respect for recently dead family members of the Roman elite. These battles became popular spectacles at banquets, sometimes involving young children, and on other festive occasions. In 105 BC, Roman ruling consuls institutionalized the battles, and they began to be staged in more formal settings, such as the Roman Forum. Most of these battles took place in the area indicated by the red arrow. The gladiators were trained men, or very rarely, women. They fought in Roman arenas mainly as entertainment for the public. Sometimes gladiatorial events were staged by the elite classes or even by the emperor to celebrate battle victories. Usually, slaves, criminals, condemned men, or bankrupt Roman citizens made up the bulk of the gladiatorial participants. Fairly often, veteran soldiers or even high-ranking citizens would volunteer themselves as gladiators for the honor and celebrity a successful fighter could gain. To prepare for a fight, the gladiators practiced with wooden swords at a gladiator school. Many spectators would stop by to watch the practice battles, particularly for well-known or celebrity gladiators, and then gamble on the gladiator they thought would win. Later, the gladiators met at the Colosseum and were given real weapons. Once this happened, music played and the fight began, but the crowd was quite noisy and they cheered and shouted all the time. There were many different types of gladiators. Among the most popular types were these four. The Andabatus, who rode horseback and charged blindly at their opponents. The Asidarius drove horse-drawn chariots into battle. The Rotarius used a net to try and snare his opponent and a trident to finish him off. The Murmillo used a dagger or sword and carried a shield. The arena in which gladiator battles were fought was called a Colosseum. There were many Colosseums throughout the Roman Empire. Construction on the Colosseum in Rome was begun in 72 AD and completed in 90 AD. However, gladiatorial events have been staged there since 80 AD. Rome's Colosseum could hold up to 50,000 spectators. Some of the events held there were reenactments of land battles, sea battles, fights sometimes called hunts against wild animals such as lions, tigers, hippopotami, giraffes, and other exotic or domestic beasts. Very popular were 2-on-1 or 1-on-1 gladiator combat. Often events were nothing more than several hundred people fighting until only one person was left alive, and that person was often executed at the end. If a gladiator went down, he or she could raise their left hand to appeal to the emperor for mercy. If the crowd didn't want the fallen gladiator to die, they held their thumbs upward and shouted "Mite," a Latin word roughly meaning "let him go." If the crowd did want the fallen gladiator to die, they turned their thumbs downward as if swiping with a sword. However, if both gladiators were still on their feet by midday, a draw was declared and neither man died, but the emperor always had the final decision on the fate of the gladiator. If one gladiator won the games, he was rewarded with palm branches, silver dishes, and golden coins. The defeated gladiator was simply killed, often by a man dressed as the mythical god Charon, who represented the underworld. The dead body of the loser was thrown into a pit as food for wild animals, or dragged into an adjoining cell where other bodies were waiting for disposal. If a gladiator succeeded multiple times, he was presented with a wooden sword and became a trainer at a gladiator school. The following is a short clip from the Collegium Gladiatorium in Pula, Hungary, where live actors trained as gladiators reenact battles in a Colosseum. One final note from the history of gladiatorial combat in Rome is in the form of modern famous saying here quite often, "See you later, gladiator."